Shavua Tov, Adgut Tavach. We hope you all had a beautiful Shabbos, restful, rejuvenational, getting on to enter into our upcoming week with lots of success, positive attitude, and full of blessing. So we'll do now the Havdalla. A little back, a little back. Hine El Yeshua Si Evtach V'lo Yefad Ki Yaziv Dimras Yom Adonai V'yehi L'Yeshua Ushiyaftamayim bebebesasayin mi'maynei Yeshua Adonai Yeshua Alamcha B'chasecha Adonai Tzevay Simonu Mizgavlanu Yagoy Zelo Adonai Tzvay Zashiyadam Vayte Yavach Adonai Yeshiyah Melech Yaneinu V'yay Mekareinu Vayodim havaisayra Vesimcha v'sasayin vikar Kain tialano Kaiser Shuai Zezra V'shem Adonai Yekra Davrim Aranon Barato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam b'nei pri agofei. Barachato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam b'nei minei amim. Barachato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam b'nei yoesh. Barachato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hamavdil ben kodesh lechayil Enay lechayshech ben Yisrael olamim Ben yoy mashviyim sheishes imei hamaseh Barachato Adonai Hamavdil ben kodesh lechayil We're dipping for every behalf of everyone.
Good.
Wisdom, parnasah, health, and all good things
Amen.
in our lives. For blessings for the week. And this week, we'll go to the story now. It's also special in our family as I want to wish our daughter Rifki, whose birthday is tonight, Rifki Rask,
Mazel tov.
a year of success, and the birth
Mazel tov.
soon, B'Shah Tova, and a good and auspicious time, healthily and well, and all the blessings. We're now going to just move a little. We're going to tell the story of the week. As the custom, we light which will be lit by the Lava Malka, we light a candle. Light a candle. So tonight is also a very special night because tonight, the second day of Iyar, is the birthday of the fourth Lubavitch Rebbe, what we call the Rebbe Maharash, Rabbeinu Shmuel. And the custom is, as we're doing here as well, is that on Motzei Shabbat, after Shabbat, we tell a story of the Baal Shem Tov or other great tzaddikim, stories of showing unusual, supernatural miracles and events to help us, inspire us to go into the week in the fullest and beautiful way. And especially that it says, the Messiah that is called the Shabbat Queen, it's called Suda David Malchusah, the meal of King David. And King David is the forerunner of Mashiach. So that's why it's connected to Tzaddikim, the Baal Shem Tov, and Mashiach, getting the world ready for Mashiach. So, of all the Rebbes, the fourth Rebbe, Rabbeinu Shmuel, who lived a very short life, he lived for 48 years. He was a very sick man, but most people didn't really have an idea how ill he was because he had incredibly positive and great spirit. He led in an unusual way, and they called him, out of all the 7 Chabad Rebbes, they said that he was like the Baal Shem Tov. In the Baal Shem Tov, miracles were flowing like water. So by the Rebbe Maharash, the types of miracles that were caused, that came through his blessings, was incredible. There was a certain, what they say in Yiddish, a breitkeit, a certain openness that was not seen so much by the other Rebbes, who were much more measured in their blessings. There are plenty of miracles, but much more measured in their blessings. So I want to say tonight a story related to the Rebbe Maharash, but it's a story that has an incredible lesson as well. And the story goes back. So the Rebbe Maharash lived about 150 years ago. He passed away 137 years ago. So he lived in that time in Russia, obviously. And the Rebbe Maharash had 2 Chassidim we talk about here. He had a Chassid, his name was Michal Aron, actually Pizarevsky, one of the family names of our family that's here in Montreal, one of our members. And he had a Chassid who was called Lei Pozin. And these 2 Chassidim were followers of the Rebbe. Now, Michal Aron was a Jew who worked very hard. He made a living. Sometimes he did better, sometimes worse, but he always made a living, took care of his family, etc. He was a person who made sure to be present at all the classes that were going on for Torah in his town. And this Michal Aron had a friend, and his friend was a very special Jew as well. His name was Nachman Lipa, and this friend was a storekeeper, very knowledgeable in Torah, unlike Michal Aron, who was a simple person. He was much more knowledgeable in Torah. And at times he had done well, but now he was going through a very difficult time. At the time of this story, he was going through a very difficult time. Now in another town, there was Lei Pozin, who was a very, very successful merchant. Very successful, very knowledgeable in Torah, and not so knowledgeable in Torah, but very respectful of all Torah scholars and the rabbis, gave a lot of charity. He wasn't the most friendly person, but he gave charity. He was a fine Jew. And he had an acquaintance, his name was Shmuel Brim. Shmuel Brim was an unusual type of fellow, very, very knowledgeable in all parts of Torah. He was able to give a class that people wanted to just hear more and more. It was so beautiful. His knowledge was so clear, and he was a contractor, meaning the type of work he had that took a lot of time, but yet still in all, he always made time to study and to teach. And he had ups and downs. In his business, he had ups and downs. And this story happened around the same time that these two Chassidim, who did not necessarily know each other, but two events happened at the same time. So Michal Aaron goes to visit the Rebbe Marash, who's Rebbe. He goes on a visit. And in his visit, he goes to Yechidus. A chassid goes into a private audience, usually to bare his soul, to ask for a way to serve Hashem better. How can you serve Hashem stronger and better? And obviously, if you had any personal issues, financial, health, family, this is the time you brought it up, or for blessing, for guidance. And Michal Aaron comes to the Rebbe Marash, and when he comes in, the Rebbe Marash greets him, and he starts talking about his friend, Nachman Lipa. And he says, my friend Nachman Lipa, such a fine fellow, such a fine Jew. But now he's in such financial difficulties. Things are terrible. He has kids to marry. He can't marry them off. He has so much debt. It's like weighing down on him. I feel so terrible for him. It's really, really a sad story. And he's pouring out to the Rebbe Marash about his friend. After the Rebbe Marash hears, he gives a blessing. So then he says, but what about you? Havdalla. He says, so what about you, Michal? What's your situation? He says, listen, it's not easy for me now, but I can't complain. If this is what Hashem wants, this is what I have to live with. I don't deserve any better. I'm not such a good Jew. I don't deserve that Hashem has to give me everything in the biggest and best way. I don't deserve more. So the Rebbe said, the Rebbe Marash told him, Michal Aaron, I give a blessing for your friend, and I give a blessing for you as well. That your friend should do well, get back on his feet, pay off his debts, and you will do well as well. And he left. And guess what? Very short after, when he brought back this friend, Nachman Lipa, that the Rebbe gave a blessing, it gave Nachman Lipa a new excitement to go back and try to do some business. And he had a few good breaks, and he started to build himself up, paid off his debts. Michal Aaron did well. Everyone did very well. Then, at the same time, another Jew, Leib Posen, came to the Rebbe Marash. For like Chassidim, he used to go every few months, every year. And when he comes to the Rebbe, he was going through, his issues. So he's going to the Rebbe. The first thing he tells the Rebbe, listen, Rebbe. He goes through all the things about his life, the things that are going well and the things that are not going well in great detail. And after he finishes going through all his things and asking the Rebbe for a blessing for what he needs, he tells the Rebbe, by the way, my friend Shmuel Brin, things are going very terrible for him. But I know that Hashem is a true judge. So he probably deserves it, that he lost all his money. But still, it's a pity to watch him. It's a pity to watch him. And at the end of his private audience, the Rebbe Marash did not bless him or did not bless Shmuel Brim. Did not bless either of them. Comes back home. A week later, there's a fire in the town on the street where this Leib Posen had his factory with all his fabrics, and everything burned down. His factory, his warehouse, he lost 50,000 rubles, a crazy amount of money. And he felt, well, I just went to the Rebbe to ask for a blessing. Now this burned down. Like, what's going on here? Is there a connection? So he runs to the Rebbe. The next morning he runs to the Rebbe. Says, Rebbe, what happened? I asked you for a blessing. What's going on? So the Rebbe says, I don't understand. When you came here last week and asked me for a blessing, you asked for all the things you need. But then when you mentioned your friend Shmuel Brin, and you said that things are going bad for him, but Mishpabli Hashem is, you can't question Hashem, and That's what he did. He deserves it. But when it happens to you, you don't deserve it. All of a sudden, when you lost your money, you don't deserve it. Why only do your friend deserves it, but you don't deserve it? And then he said like this. He said that the Talmud says that when you need something yourself and you pray for your friend first that also needs it, your friend will get what he needs and you'll get also what you need. But if you and your friend need something and you pray for yourself before your friend, then in heaven they're much more stricter on you and they don't necessarily give you what you need if you don't think about your friend first. So Laid all of a sudden woke up from his world, the way he looked at the world, and he realized, I am so absorbed in my own life that I looked at my friend who lost all his money and I think he deserves it. And for me, I lost money, even though I have plenty of money left. But it was a big loss, and all of a sudden I'm angry at Hashem and I'd rather give me a blessing. So he realized that he's really been living his life wrongly. So he says, Rebbe, what can I do? Give me a way. I want to be a different person. So the Rebbe said, go back to your city and lend to Shmuel Brin 3,000 ruble that he can go and buy. He was in the lumber business. He can go and buy lumber and bring it down on the raft and sell it to make money. And then you go back to your suppliers in St. Petersburg, I think it was, and everything will be good. And that's what happened. He goes back to his town, but Shmuel is not around. He's looking for Shmuel. He's out of town. Finally, a week, he's looking because he wants the blessing to happen. And he knows that until he gives the money to Shmuel, his own blessing to recover his losses won't happen either. So finally, Friday night, he sees Shmuel in Shul. And he sees him and everyone's gathering around him. And he's wondering, why is everyone gathering around him? And he heard, because Shmuel was in Lubavitch by the Rebbe Maharash. And he heard the Rebbe say a discourse. And he's so excited and he's ready to teach it. And the whole Shabbat, these 3 times he repeated the discourse in great detail. And he was in a good mood. And he's thinking, Shmuel lost everything. And he's in such a good mood. And me, I lost, and I still have plenty of a fortune. And it's bothering me, and I can't get myself together. He started to be a little envious. How does someone live with such a faith and belief? So that Saturday night, Shabbat, after Shabbat, he went to Shmuel's house, and he sat down with him, and he says, tell me what's going on. And Shmuel tells him his whole story, how things really are so bad. And he tried to get into business, and some people fooled him, and he was about to give up and just declare bankruptcy and become a rabbi somewhere. So the Rebbe Maharash sent him a message from someone that he shouldn't give up, and God will help him. He should start ordering wood, and he'll get the money. And after he poured out his heart, so Reb Leib said, Shmuel, here, I want to give you 3,000 rubles. Whenever you make money, you'll pay me back. So Shmuel said, no, I don't just take money. The Rebbe promised me I'm not taking loans. So Leib ran the next morning to the Rebbe. He said, I tried to give him a loan he didn't want to take. So the Rebbe says, don't worry, leave the envelope with me. And the Rebbe sent a messenger to Shmuel Brin, take the money and use it. And once he gave him the money, he traveled to St. Petersburg. He met with his suppliers. He told them what happened. They were so nice. They forgave him for 50% of the money that he owed. And they sold him a lot more on credit. And he did well, and Shmuel did well, and they all did very, very well. This is the gist of the story. What is the idea of the story? The idea of the story is 2 things. First of all, the Rebbe Maharash is teaching how we have to love a fellow Jew, how we have to care by another person. Usually we think in life, first we have to care about ourselves. First we have to worry about ourselves, and then we'll worry about someone else. Like they tell you in the airplane, first put on your oxygen mask, and then take care of someone else. So Ahavas Yisrael is, you think about someone else first. Look at the people around you. If they're suffering, cry for them. Don't justify why they're suffering. Cry for them. Think about them. When you go to visit a tzaddik and you know someone needs, think about them even before you think about yourself. That's how you have to care and love for a fellow Jew. And then we know that if you actually think about a fellow Jew in that way, and you honestly pray for someone else before you pray for yourself, then not only does Hashem answer your prayer for the other person, But then the prayer that he answers for you becomes even greater, even much more. And this is one of the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov as well. The main teaching is Avat Yisrael, the love of a fellow Jew, the care of a fellow Jew. How it has to bother us when we see someone is missing something. It has to bother us that we care about it. Not just when we see them, we tell them we feel bad. But when we go to sleep at night, we know our friend has a health issue, has a financial issue, has a family issue. It has to bother us. And we have to pray for them. And when we do that, we get answered in a much bigger way for ourselves as well. And may Hashem help that as we're going into the month of Iyar, this is a month that we have to strengthen ourselves in Avat Yisrael, because we're now in the month when Rabbi Akiva students, until Lag BaOmer, Rabbi Akiva students were dying. Why are Rabbi Akiva students dying? Because they didn't honor and respect each other enough. And therefore, this is the month we have to, extra special, strengthen our love for a fellow Jew, our caring for a fellow Jew, to really be concerned. And today, pick up the phone. We don't see people, but call. How you doing? What's happening? And hopefully this week in Chabad, we're going to start a system. We're going to want people calling other people every week to see how they're doing, even if they don't need anything, but to show that people care about them, that we're thinking of them. And may Hashem help by doing that will end this pandemic and will bring Mashiach very quickly in our days. So I want to wish you all, and I'm reading everybody, I want to wish you all a Shavua Tov. Holy, beautiful
month.
We're always available to see each other. Whenever anyone wants to see each other, you can Zoom us or you can FaceTime us.
Thank you so much. Shavua Tov.
Chodesh Tov.
Love you all.
Bye.
See you tomorrow. Tomorrow it's at 9:30.
9:30 tomorrow, yes.
What time tomorrow?
9:30 the prayer.
Okay.
Bye, a gute Woche.
Bye.